heavy black heart. Saudi woman, heavy black heart. A 19-year-old girl, when her uncle married her from the first person in the family to ask for her hand. The girl was an orphan of parents. A single woman who has no brother or sister, was left in the care of her uncle, who took her entire inheritance, claiming that he spent everything her parents left for her on her marriage. The girl had high ambitions, was totally diligent in her education, and tried hard to refuse marriage and complete her education process. But she did not change the decision of her uncle, who has always imposed his control, even if forced upon her. The girl was forced to marry, and when she married him, she found him to be of good character and religion. He compensated her for all the years of torment she lived with her uncle and his wife and their sons. She was treated like a slave girl, who did not dare to complain or suffer even for a day. She lived with her husband happily for 2 years, which resulted in the birth of a handsome son, whom they called Caleb. The girl finally felt safe, warm and protected under the care of her loving husband. But fates want her to lose her husband in the blink of an eye due to a traffic accident on the road. Her son, her youngest, her husband, her lover, she saw that her husband is with all the men of the universe. She did not see a man other than him, but she loved him. But she loved him with all her being. Once again, her uncle entered her life, and wanted her to marry her so that she would not be a talking point for others about the family and the family's daughters. But the girl refuses to be a toy in his hands again. The girl refused to replace another man with her husband, whom she loved madly, and because of her refusal to marry she suffered from many problems with her uncle and his sons. They saw her as a disgrace on their brother's daughters. They would chase her if she got into her car, and every time the girl kept her anger from them and her anger within herself. But she was strong-willed and determined as well. She completed her education and studied law and work. She was a lawyer, and she had a great reputation because she was diligent in her work. She saw all the ways of power and prevented all her relatives from her in her work. Once again, her uncle prevented her from completing her education, because the daughters of the family are not allowed to mix with men. But she challenged them all and even raised a case against them for not being exposed, as they beat her to death. The girl became a lawyer with her destiny and status. She wanted to raise her son without the need for any of her relatives or the relatives of her deceased husband, and indeed she was able to achieve great success in record time. And one day, her older cousin was arrested in a scandalous act, as he and a friend of his went to meet girls, and did what God Almighty prohibited under the name of pleasure. His father, the girl's uncle, almost went crazy because of his fear for his son. One of his friends described the lawyer who has not seen the loss of a single case since she took up the legal profession. He went there desire and hope for his son's survival from the loss of his future. The surprise was when he found her to be his niece, whom he prevented one day from completing her education. She met him with respect, and even promised him to do her best to address his case, and indeed she postponed all her work, and was able to take the lightest sentence against him, and he was imprisoned for a period of 6 months. Her uncle did not know where to get her fees, especially since she was paid very well thanks to her unseen work. Nazir, she preached the ruling to him and informed him that she did not want money from him, so he is, in the end, her cousin. Her uncle testified to her that if her father was alive he would be proud of her, and that she is a source of pride for all fathers and for the family name. She was extremely loyal to her husband, whose love for her restored her self-confidence, which she had lost when she was placed under the command of people who do not know God properly. Was the video hopeful? We meet with new hope.